The Masquerades took my leg. This is a true story of a Nigerian boy's lost dream. He had dreams, big ones. He was just 17 and his football journey was finally about to begin. But this is Adibe Uzondu, and this here is his father. Professor Uzondu himself was a physical education lecturer at the University of Lagos in the 1980s, and they hail from Mbaitoli, Imo State. Professor Uzondu, a proud academic, always wanted his son Adibe to follow in his footsteps. He had dreams of seeing Adibe in a lab coat or in front of a classroom, but Adibe had other plans. Football was his life. So at first, it was a big class. The father didn't understand, but secretly, Prof. Uzo, as was popularly called, would watch his son playing football in the compound. And deep inside, he was impressed. So one day, on the 27th of November 1987, Prof. shocked Adibe. He introduced him to the manager of one of the top football clubs in Lagos. So they had an agreement that after Adibe finished his May-June WAEC exams in 1988, he will start training with the club. Overjoyed, he hugged his father and promised to ace his exams as his way of saying thank you. Now, for almost 8 years, Prof hadn't taken the whole family to the village. So that December, he decided it was time they needed to reconnect to their roots. So on the 16th of December 1987, the whole family, Prof, his wife, the 3 children, traveled by road from Lagos to Imo State. They arrived that evening full of joy, welcomed by relatives. So the next morning, Adibe stepped out with his cousin to witness the village, to look around. And while walking just around the street corner, they met the village masquerade. People were running and hiding, but Adibe didn't. He didn't feel threatened. He didn't understand much Igbo. So when the masquerade shouted at him, he couldn't respond properly. He didn't move aside, and in seconds, they descended on him. Long canes whipped him across his legs. His cousin ran away, but Adibe, trying to look cool and brave in front of those village girls, he just smiled and shook it off and walked away. And when he got back home, he never told his father. Only mentioned it to his little sister, trying to brag about how brave he was. By the 2nd of January 1988, the family returned to Lagos, but days after, Adibe begins to feel pain in his left leg. First, it was a small swelling, and then pus appeared. He hid it for a week. Then another week passed, and by the time he showed his parents, the infection had got into his bone. They were shocked. Prof was furious, his mother heartbroken, and his sister felt betrayed. They rushed to the hospital for 4 months, 4 good months. They tried everything. Antibiotics, therapy, surgery, consultations. Nothing worked. That leg was getting worse, and it began to rot. With no hope left, Prof took his son back to the village in April 1988. He called for a meeting. Chiefs, the elders, the village head, all were present. He vented his anger. He demanded answers. But they begged for peace and offered traditional help. Herbs, shrines, sacrifices. They even brought in native doctors. But nothing worked. And after trying everything, the doctors gave them one final option: amputation. It was either that or risk his life. So they agreed. Adibe's leg was cut off. And when they returned to Lagos, his mother and sisters waited at the gate. But this time, Adibe came back in a wheelchair and with just one leg. The dream, the football career, the future, all gone. His father wept, his sisters and his mother cried. But Adibe just sat down there, lost in silence. So what really happened here? Was it Adibe's pride that led to his downfall? Ignoring the masquerades and their warnings? Or was it the case of dangerous tradition where an innocent boy was punished just for not understanding a language or a custom?